Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm reading A Little Life. The backstory is that I wanted to read this book as the first book of the year of 2025. I've had this on my bookshelf for literally years. Felt like it was time to tackle this book right now. I started the book at 40% into the book. I really enjoyed it and it was really good. But then I found out that Matt Bomer, my favorite actor of all time, was doing an audiobook of this. And I was like, I gotta put this book down and wait until that audiobook comes out because I just know I'm gonna love it. The book came out at midnight and I started to listen to it right away. I of course started at the beginning. This video is going to show my experience reading this book, so I hope you enjoy it. Let's start.
Directly above the fire escape, he said. That way, I'll just go in through one of the living room windows. The bedroom window's lock was broken. Now find it, Will, said Jude before JB could respond. They edged themselves, and when Jude called to them to let go, and they clatter on the slat-floored fire escape beneath them. Curious, and Willem watched him sway a little, trying to keep his balance, tucking his leg around a spindle to brace himself. I've got you, he said, and then reached out again to pull Jude in by his arms, careful to avoid his bandages. As a gasp, he smiled at Willem again, but with more flecks of rust, and Willem picked some of them off of him. Saturdays were for work. When he had moved to the city and knew little about it, but Manhattan, and many in Brooklyn and Queens as well, you'd be swimming, not dragging yourself up and down pavement. They would have their drinks and more visits. It felt like he never saw Willem these days. And for all Willem talked about how lazy he was, it seemed he was constantly at work. A literature professor in the early throes of dementia, accessible to him, talking of their self-loathings and promises. Many years, barefoot in the kitchen, everything quiet around him, but it still made him feel vulnerable. Yet another piece of evidence added to the overstuffed file testifying to his pinched prissiness. Evidence of his oddities as a way to distinguish himself from others. It had been months, almost a year since he had done the circuit. Dad, he doesn't want to work for some corporate firm. It's been a long time since I was in public service.
So far, I've read 12% of the book, and I've listened to the audiobook for 3 hours, and I still have 25 hours left. And I think I'm on part 2. That's almost 100 pages into the book. So far, it's really good. We have gotten a lot of backstories. We have been introduced to the characters, to the 4 friends, Malcolm, Willem, Jude, and JB. I've not gotten the backstory of Jude yet, but he's definitely the character that the writer wants you to be most curious about, and I feel like he's kind of the main character in a way, so I'm really intrigued by that character. The book shines a light on different topics and different kind of people in the society. It's really good so far. I'm really curious to see or learn about the Jude character. The other friends have been talking about him, but we don't actually know what's going on inside of his head and his feelings and his pain and everything. And now I'm gonna just sit down and try to listen to the audiobook while I read with my eyes in a physical book. But I've gotta say that Matt Bomer's performance is insane. Really enjoying Matt Bomer's reading and acting, if that makes sense. It's really good, so I highly recommend everybody to listen to that audiobook. Okay, I'm trying to do a lot of things at the same time. been reading it for a couple of days right now. I am almost halfway through. I'm gonna check. I am 45% through the book. I just wanted to share my thoughts and what I have read so far. I think I'm on chapter 3, Vanities. I'm saying that properly. So yeah, I'm almost halfway through the book and I'm really enjoying it so far. I feel like enjoying it is like not the best word to describe it because it's like heavy themes and stuff, but it's a really good book. It's written really well, and I think the audiobook is also really well read. I really enjoyed that first chapter, Lisbonard Street. I feel like more of the lighter part, they were like happy together, and I really like when all of the 4 friends are together. And then we go over to The Postman, which is the second chapter in the book, and we learn about Jude, and we got his backstory, and oh my gosh, it was so devastating to learn about his past. I'm sure there is more to the story that we are going to learn about throughout the book, but the abuse and everything is, I can't. And then we learn about his relationship to Harold, and that is really a really good chapter. So I love that part of the book. But then there was a part of the book where I did not like JB at all because of how he treated Jude. That was so over the line, but he basically needed help and got help, so that's good. I've been listening to the book while I've been doing chores around the house. I've been making dinner and doing a lot of other stuff, but I feel like I just had to lay down and like listen to it and not do anything else because it's getting more and more heavier, if that makes sense. Oh my gosh, Caleb has to be the worst fictional character of all time. I just finished the first chapter of part 4. I have a new character that I don't like. His name is Caleb. That guy. I'm like in the middle of an abuse right now, and I am cursing all of my fingers, and I really hope that Jude gets away from this dude and that Willem comes home. But I have a feeling that it's only going to get worse. I just finished the hardest chapter I've read in my life. The chapter is called The Axiom of Equality, and I don't think I've ever read a more devastating chapter in my life. I needed to take a little break from reading the book after I was done with the chapter because it was like so brutal. And we also learned about his time with Brother Luke, titled The Axiom of Equality. The meaning of it, that X always equals X, and that Jude always thinks that no matter what he does or get away from that bad stuff is going to happen to him anyway, and that is so devastating. It was a good chapter in the terms of it was well written, but it was a really hard one to read. there were parts in the chapter where I like had to take off my headset and just stare into the wall basically and just think about what I actually read. I had to like process what was going on with the character and what had happened to him. I just started part 5, The Happy Years. It's starting off really good, like in terms of Jude and Willem's relationship is starting to develop, and that makes me really happy. I have a feeling that it's supposed to be going really well at first, and then you're going to be crushed by something and everything turns upside down and gets even more devastating at the end. Caleb and Brother Luke and the whole monastery. I can't believe that there are people that want to do so terrible things to other people. He was 8 years old. But yeah, I am rooting for Willem and Jude. I'm just going to continue reading The Happy Years. We'll see what happens. Now it is 11 o'clock and I'm going to bed, and I'm just going to listen to the audiobook. This has been my nighttime routine the past couple of days, where I just go to bed early. Well, it's 11 o'clock, kind of early, and just lay in bed with my eyes closed and listening to the audiobook. Today I am going to finish this book. I started the Happy Years part. The first chapter started happy, at least, and then just got worse and worse. I am on page 558. I'm in the middle of something really awful. How much can a single human being take? I am really hoping that this is the last thing that we learn about Jude's past. I hope we're up to date. Like, this incident is probably the last thing that happens to him before he began at college. I hope so, because this is too much. So I'm just going to continue reading. I don't know if I want to continue reading. I'm like lost for words. I can't find any right word to describe what I'm feeling. How can people behave like this? But I'm going to get through this chapter right now. So far, The Happy Years, not so happy. It started off great, now not happy. Dr. Trailer is on my enemy list. Dr. Trailer didn't just mentally ruin Jude for the rest of his life, but he also physically hurt him. Why? No, 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 no. No. I just finished part 5, The Happy Years. I did not see this coming. I didn't like this. I didn't like this plot twist at all. Why? So, I'm on part 6. Dear Comrade. This is not going to be a good one. Based off of where the last chapter ended. No. So I just finished part 6 and I think this is the final part. Part 7, Lisbonard Street. And it's basically 10 pages long. And I just know what's going to happen. Finished the book. I don't know what to feel, what to say. Now I have had some time to think and I am going to try and give this book a review. I think it is inevitable and almost impossible to rate this book less than 5 stars after being through this almost 800 pages of trauma. Some reviews state that they didn't like this book because of the traumatic experiences and that they were too motivated and only there to make the readers cry. Personally, I can agree that as a reader you can't help but to think how much can a person go through. However, I think this was the author's intention. I think she wanted to write about a character that doesn't get better, but because it was intentional, I think that I can't rate the book any less because of that, and I knew that it was going to be a really heavy book going into it. One thing I really enjoyed about this book was the use of mathematic rules to explain Jude's mindset. Jude is a very literal person. I really liked the metaphor, the axiom of equality. The axiom of equality states that x always equals x, and Jude therefore will never escape his younger self. This rule helps the reader justify Jude's behavior and what he thinks about himself. Another thing I really liked about this book was the seamless storytelling from past to present day. Hanya effectively shows how trauma rekindles in everyday life. This also makes the reader know more about Jude's past than other characters in the book, such as Willem and Harold, which makes the scenes where Jude can't do certain things because of his past trauma extra hard. Throughout the book it is third person's perspective, except for Harold's part. In his part it is in first person and he's talking to someone, Willem. In his part it shows that he knows very little about Jude's past, and that is a contrast to Jude's part where we are a really getting a deep dive into his thoughts and mindset. Another thing I really liked about this book was the friendship. They supported each other throughout their whole lives. And one thing I wanted to point out was JB's struggle to be a good friend. I found that very interesting. He did some mistakes and he had to learn from them to be a better friend. I feel like Hanya, the author, wanted to show that it doesn't come naturally to everyone to be a good friend, and JB's character had to develop throughout the whole book to be a better friend and learn how to treat other people. I really liked the book. It is certainly not for everyone, so if you want to read this book, you have to look up the trigger warnings and be prepared before you read this book. I feel like it's a really well-written book, so if you want to read a heavy book, this is the one for you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this video and want to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!